You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
All the WZYE 95.9 FM listeners, of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the village with the dark triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And this is a special broadcast here on WZYE 95.9 FM. And I already see that we have our guests waiting patiently for us in the background. But let me bring in one third of the dark triplet, no other than Diana, Waveney, Denskin, Stormy, The Storm, Greta McDonald.
Oh Lord, I have a whole lot of names. Leave my dog out of this comments. Good.
All right. So we're not going to waste any time. Let's bring in our guest, who has been sitting patiently waiting for us. No other than let me do something here. Let me bring you in solo here, Robert.
I'm trying to get centered here. I hope I'm okay.
Yeah. We have you centered now. You're fully centered now. So Robert, the other person here is Diana. You hear she has about 7 or 8 different names. She's also a young lady from Barbados. She does tell people she's a Trinidadian, but she's she's
She's from BIM. She's from BIM.
Mr. Sabga, I can call you Mr. Sabga out of respect.
Just call me Robert.
Robert, that's fine.
I've been called all kinds of things in my time.
Okay, Robert.
Robert is the name I was given at birth. So
that's my favorite uncle's, but he's deceased. I'm glad to speak his name again today. I am a Bajan that was born in Trinidad to 2 Bajan parents. So he confusing you. All right. So figure it out. Constitutionally.
No, listen. I lived in Barbados from 1964 until 1973, which is when I left. And my parents lived there right until the time they died. So
okay,
I'm half Bajan.
Oh, you half Bajan. Well, I is full Bajan. 2 Bajan. Two cat can't make me in an oven and call it bread. You understand? So I is a Bajan. Good. So there we go.
Robert. Oh, wait now. Oh, he's half Bajan. I understand that,
because he lived there.
I'm also part of a Tobagonian. I spent the first 7 years of my life in Tobago, so I consider myself a Caribbean man. How's that?
All right. I like that better. I like the Caribbean man better. But when you try, because my father from Tobago, what? My father's a Tobagonian.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure they're looking at this program right now, and you're watching his son. He say, "Wow, but he didn't do bad at all."
It's like when I was first appointed as High Commissioner to Canada. One of my cousins looked at me and said, "Not bad. This little boy in short pants from Tobago. Look where you reach."
Yeah, well, Robert, I used to say, I still say, I say a little black boy from Chumaka, Claventil, building one apartment, 2-1, come out of the bowels of Laventil, where, and when I grew up, Robert, we were so poor, they dropped the OR. We were just poor. We couldn't afford the whole word, and look at him today. He went on and, he did a few things for himself. But it's a pleasure. So Robert, before we go on, how is the family? How is everybody doing?
Thank you very much for asking. I'm happy to say that everyone in my family circle is well. We're happy, enjoying a quiet life, except for the last couple of weeks. This thing has just, oh my God. But anyways. We'll get into that.
We will get into that. We have time for that, but we just want to make sure, as you know, Robert, when I send you, I told you I hope you have a fantabulous and splendiferous day. Have you been? Robert,
Anselm, I have always professed that possessing a certain dexterity in any form of communication and enunciation, it can only be an asset on a day-to-day basis in your daily intercourse with individuals. But if you want to, if you want to expound, I mean, we could do this.
Yeah. I mean, we could expound a little bit just to, because in this situation here, Robert, when you look at what we have to talk about, it is something very difficult. But we can also look at the other parts of our lives too as well, and I want to make sure that, you're sitting down quiet and you relax and, fantabulous and splendiferous. I could put those aside and ask you if, by the time we finish here, maybe your day will be marvelous, right?
Let me ask you a question, Anselm. Have you got a salad bowl? Do you just sort of throw words in it and shake it around and mix it up and then come up with these wonderful words?
Well, Robert, when you grow up in a community like I grew up in Chumaka, Claventil, right? You just certain things, like for example, a quote of mine growing up was your circumstances may determine who you are, but you are responsible for who you become. And then, going to college, and going on a track and field scholarship. Another one of my quote was, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard, because I wasn't the most talented person coming out of Chumaka Clavantil, but nobody would outwork me. Absolutely nobody. So, as you said, I put certain words into a bowl, and, but before we finish, I could just add another one to that Truman de First as well.
I will tell you an anecdote.
Yes.
I will tell you an anecdote that I think you will like, because it will add to your lexicon.
Okay.
I have an uncle. This is my late mother's oldest brother, who used to invent words when language failed him.
Mm-hmm.
And the famous word he came up with was the word fraconious.
Okay.
Now, it sounds like a real word,
Mm.
but he uses it in place of saying, something is all effed up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he was in discussion with a PNM minister. I'm going back now 40 years plus, a long time. He was in discussion with a PNM minister at that time that he was close friends with, and he said to him, the situation in the country has just gotten fraconious.
Okay.
Would you believe the following week that very same minister stood up in Parliament and said, and furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the situation in the country has grown fraconious. It's in Hansard.
Oh no!
Wow.
He had no idea what this word was, but it sounded good, so he used it.
Interesting and very interesting.
So now you can add that to your lexicon.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think I'm a poet too, Robert. So I think I'll find a stanza to use for corneas in. Next time I create something.
Okay. So
Robert,
yes.
let me start here, right? I mean, there is some things that just need to be cleared up before we actually go. Robert, was anyone on that committee paid? Was anyone in the committee paid?
No.
With respect to the Sabga report, was anybody paid?
No. Not a dime. Not a
no-
dime. Not even gas money. Nothing. Zero. Naught. With the exception of myself and Diana Mahabir Wyatt, everybody else was a ministry appointee. We had representatives of the Ministry of Social Development, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health. So they were already being paid by the state. They couldn't receive a stipend above and beyond that. And we never asked for anything. So the easy answer to that is no. Nobody was paid.
Okay. So we're just getting things out of the way here. Now, there are also some people may say that after the report was laid. No, was that report ever laid in Parliament? The report was laid in Parliament?
I don't know this for a fact because I was no longer in Trinidad. We handed the report in, I believe, in May of 1997, and I was posted to Ottawa in August. And let me say here, Ansem, there is no connection between those two. We can elaborate on that separately.
Right. I was going to ask you that separately as well.
Okay, so we'll cycle back to that. But I was posted in August of 97. And what happened to the report after I left, I can't say. Who's the TNT phantom that's just joined us?
He's just another guy that joined us, Gary Mahabir. He's also inside with us as well. We are working on the front new Robert. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, welcome, Mr. Sabga. Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome, Mr. Phantom. Are you the ghost who walks?
I am the ghost who appears when TNT citizens in distress overseas, and I try to do my best, bringing my whole team for them.
You'll forgive me if I sip from my coffee from time to time.
No. What are you having? Starbucks? Is that Starbucks or
home brewed, my friend?
Home brewed. Okay.
Actually, where I sit, I mean, you're not seeing much here, but I'll just show you very quickly behind me if I can.
Yes.
This is an overview of the facility where I am right now. We're building a coffee roasting and packaging facility, which includes a coffee shop and restaurant and this and that. And here's the nice part. We have the only Trinidad coffee available in North America here. And we're going to be
Wow.
bringing in more, and also some cocoa from Trinidad. But we'll leave that aside.
Yeah,
That's
well, yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that next time.
No. That's as far as I'm going in terms of a commercial plug. Let's continue.
Yeah. So yeah, you was talking about the report being laid in Parliament that you were unaware.
I don't know. From everything I've seen, and from all of the quotations from Hansard that have been made public in the last few days, it would appear that yes, it was indeed laid in Parliament. But for me to tell you as a matter of fact that I know it was laid, I don't. I wasn't there.
And let's talk about one other issue, right? Many people were saying that you were sent to Canada as a high commissioner in order to silence you. What do you say about that?
Those people need to have a bush bath. The two are totally and utterly unrelated. In September of 1996, Basdeo Pandey led the very first North American trade mission that he mounted in his administration. And he planned visits to Boston, New York, New Jersey, actually where you are, and then on somewhere else in the US, I forget where. Then we went through to Toronto, Winnipeg, and I forget. It's been too many years. Anyways, in those days, if that's for me, I'm not.
No, that's for me.
Okay, I'm
sorry.
not here.
Go ahead. That's for me. Yeah.
In those days, I was a CEO in the Clico group of companies, and because I was friendly with Mr. Pandey for years before that. You have to remember, Clico used to play both sides. Used to play. You had those members of the board that were in P&M circles, like.
Montai.
Exactly. And then on the other side, you had like Carlos John and Lawrence,
Carlos John,
who were close with Pandey. So the group, they took a decision. They wanted representation on that trade mission, and they selected me. It was out of the blue. It was pure serendipity, nothing else. And during that trip, we started off in New York. We went to the UN, but by the time we hit Boston, George, what the hell was his last name now? He was such a good friend. He's passed on now, but he was the consul general in New York at the time, and a longtime friend of Mr. Pandey, and he and Ralph Mirage. Yeah, George came to my room one night and said, "Boy, you've made quite an impression. Ralph has taken a good notice of you." I said, "Oh, in what regard?" He said, "Wait." So then we continued with the tour and so on. And when we ended up in Toronto, I'll never forget this because, the other place in Canada we went was Ottawa, which is where I am now. But they came to my room one night while we were at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto. This is September of '96. And they said, Robert, the way you've handled yourself in all of these business forums and so on we've gone, we think you would make an excellent representative for the country. Is it something you'd be interested in? And that's when the overture was made to me for me to be have a posting. The then High Commissioner in Ottawa was Shastri Ali, and she wanted to go back home. She ended up being a permanent secretary in the ministry after she left. So they were looking for a replacement, and they made that overture to me in September of 1996. The task force wasn't agreed to by the cabinet until January 10th of 97. We didn't get our instruments until February of 97. So any of this talk about how I was shipped abroad for me to be silenced and all of it, that's hogwash, rubbish. It's a total fiction, and that speaks to a deliberate attempt to try and distort the reality of what went on, which tells me, when you and we spoke yesterday, briefly, Anselm, you asked me, why am I speaking out? Well, the answer is very simple. I want to keep the history honest. Too many fake narratives are out there. It's not right. It's not right. There was no cover up. There was no dereliction of duty. It infuriates me because not only, this report carries my name on it, but it wasn't me alone. We are a committee of dedicated people who faced unimaginable obstruction in what we were trying to do. The number of personal and professional attacks we endured, the threats, there are stories that can never be told. And yet, despite all of that, we persevered. Now, 25 years later, for somebody who had nothing to do with what we did, now to start casting all these bizarre aspersions on us is not fair. I won't stand for it. I have a duty of care for the people, the fine people who worked on that committee with me. All right? I can't sit by. That's why I have to speak up.
So, Robert,
But Anselm, this is why we're giving him this opportunity here with us. What you can't, that to say what he has to say.
Yeah. So Robert, okay, so you weren't the one that put this back into the public space. It was someone else, and you were then interviewed, and then it came back into the public space.
Yeah, and who would have thought? Nobody was more astonished than me for me to get a call one day from Annalisa Paul at The Guardian to say, Mr. Sabga, they're referencing your report and so on, and she did a brief interview with me. And my comment then is my comment now. How is this relevant 25 years after the fact? What happened during that 25 years? How come people want to find me now? Everybody's saying, oh, I'm breaking my silence now. Really? Nobody ever asked me. It's not like I was keeping some dark secret. Nobody ever asked. You found me. It's not difficult to find me. Everybody's finding me when they want to. So what happened for 25 years? I was in the bush somewhere. Nobody could locate me.
Well, Robert, I think we want to just put a few things on the table, right? The committee was a committee of 7 individuals, right? And you was the victimologist, right? That was the head of that committee. And then there was Diana Mahabir Wyatt, who was from the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Now, the 5 individuals was from within the Ministry of Social Development. Well, no, 4 was from the Ministry of Social Development. I think was 1 from the Ministry of Health.
That's
is that
correct.
accurate?
That is correct.
Right. So, and then you guys set out, right? There was about 29 homes at that time in Trinidad, and you guys decided you were only going to look at 10.
We went to, well, it's not that we decided we would only. Remember, some of the social workers who were members of the task force had first-hand knowledge of what was going on. So there were certain homes that weren't under question. We knew that they were being well managed and everything was good with those homes. So while we would have liked to investigate every single home, we decided our energies were better spent focused on the homes that either there were lots of reports in the press or other reports that we had been made aware of through the ministry that they wanted us to investigate. So we whittled it down from 29 down to 10. So keep that in perspective, because and this was not like a VAPS decision. We sat down and we deliberated on this. We looked at the evidence, and that's how we ended up with the short list that we did. And we developed some tools that did not exist, like in terms of not only how would we arrive at this short list, but when we went into the homes, what is it that we were going to do? And we came up with particular forms that everybody on the task force used, all depending on what their focus was going to be.
Now, in order to get into the homes, right, all of the members had to be appointed inspectors of homes.
Well, okay. Let me throw some color on that, just so you know.
Okay, all right.
When we first started our visits, everybody kept blocking us. No, you can't come in. No, you have no permission. You need to get the owner's approval. This, that, and the other. All kinds of nonsense. I remember I was standing in the parking lot. We'd just been refused entry into was it the... Anyway, we had just been refused entry into yet another home. And we understood why. It's because a high-ranking official in the Ministry of Social Development, who I will not name, Manohar Ramsaran, knows who she is. But
was she a permanent secretary?
I can neither confirm nor deny, Anselm.
Thank you, Robert.
I will merely say that I cannot name, but a high-ranking official.
But why does you cannot name though? Is it because you don't want to name him, or because I think we all, this is 25 years ago.
Anselm, I live a quiet life. I'm not here for bacchanal. All right, this thing is now in the public domain. I don't want to throw gasoline on the fire.
Okay.
It doesn't change what the focus should be. See, that's another complaint I have. Somewhere in all of this, I became the story. Why? It's not about me.
Can I interject here, Mr. Sabga? Robert, you said. Robert, I am an adult who was severely abused as a child, right? So I have taken up I have a global ambassadorship position. It was given to me by an organization in London. And these are things that I follow up on, and women being, abused and stuff. I am putting myself in the shoes of these little children in the homes, and also their parents or guardians, and especially, and I'm not throwing any arrows at you, Robert, especially the young man who Akil. I'm his mother, and I can't get no justice for my child. What do you say to me, Robert? And you have information that can help me put my mind at ease and let me rest my son in peace totally. What do you say to me as the mother of Akil?
First, on a personal level, I feel your pain. Robert feels your pain. I want to speak specifically to what you just said. I don't have information. All right, that is again one of these false narratives that's out there. I want to put this in context, please. In the course of our investigation, because what happened with your son happened after our task force was done. We handed this in May of 97. I believe what happened to Akil occurred in 98.
Correct.
In the course of our investigation, and we couldn't say this in the report, remember, and I'll speak to this a little bit more. The final report we handed in was not the original draft. And there are reasons for that, which I'll expound on. But I want to disabuse any idea that the government somehow made us sanitize this report. That's not true at all. I'll clarify that. But anyways, in the course of our investigation, we ran across time and again evidence that there was an active of pedophile ring at work, and they were grooming some of these children in certain homes with the aid and support of certain individuals who were looking after these children. And again, all of this is anecdotal, things whispered in corridors, so and so and so and so. We heard names, but nothing that we could back it up with. That's why it's not in the report. And where this becomes relevant for what happened with Akil is that many years later, and I'm not saying this was in 98, I'm talking I was still in the High Commission at the time. I was talking with a lawyer friend of mine in Port of Spain who had knowledge, and how he had that knowledge I can't answer, but he had knowledge of what happened. And he said, boy, they've just gone and destroyed the evidence with Akil Chambers, and there's a big uproar, and I've heard that he gave me two names. He said, this is what supposedly the DNA result showed for the samples that were taken, and that's why the samples were destroyed, because of where it was going and so on. And that for me was what I call my OMG moment. That was my OMG moment, because those exact same two names were the names that we were told when we were doing our investigation as being part of what was going on. That is the connection.
So, Robert, do you know in North America such things would not be tolerated? The FBI and the CIA would be clamping down on your door and giving you subpoenas and questioning you to make you speak these names. Why is it not? Why does the judicial system in Trinidad and Tobago allowing this to fester this long, and no one is saying anything? Everybody's, and I like how you do it. I can neither confirm or deny. Meanwhile, the poor child lost his life. The stuff is still going on. It went on. How do we fix it, Mr.? How do we fix it, Robert? Because as a child being abused, I wasn't abused sexually, but physically, emotionally, psychologically, everything. But I was raped when I was 8. So I know the fear of a little child, someone taking advantage of you, and I'm passionate about these children, and it ought not to be happening. It's wrong. So how, Robert?
Absolutely correct.
What you hold the key? What do we do to reverse all this, make somebody accountable, and fix it so the future generation of Trinidad and Tobago are safe and they can grow up healthy and happy? What do we do, Robert?
I wish I had a magic wand that I could wave and say boop, 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 and it's fixed. There are solutions, but there is no magic pill. There are things that ought to have been done and that I had started. One of the things that I did with Manohar, and this makes no news because it's gone. It's gone. I designed the blueprint for the new social service delivery system in Trinidad that would have revamped everything. One of the biggest problems we had then, and I understand it has not changed in 25 years, and hear the anger in my voice now. I was doing some math with Ansem yesterday. We had a population back then of 1.3 million people. it's now likely more than 1.4. But 1.3 million. If you use the international estimate that 1 in every 3 or 1 in every 4 women or girl children are being abused in some form or fashion, and you just do simple math. You divide that 1.3 by let's go with 1.4, just for easy math. So you divide that by 4, not by 3, by 4. So 1.3 divided by 4 is what? Just shy of 300,000. 4 threes is no. It's 350,000. 350,000 potential victims at this particular period in time. Do you know how many social workers the Ministry of Social Development had at that time? They had 26. 26 people who were charged with dealing with the equivalent of 350,000 cases every year. If you lined up all those people around the corner, if you allowed each social worker no more than 10 minutes per person, and this is only when you're dealing with domestic violence in whatever form or format you want to, and you allow that they don't take any washroom break, lunch break, nothing. They start at 8 in the morning, they end at 5, 8-hour day, 5 days a week. Allow them for 10 minutes each. You couldn't get through 1/10 of that every month. The standard in Canada at that time, I don't know what it is now, but at that time, the ratio of cases per social worker at that time was 1 in 10 or 1 in 12, no more. That was the monthly caseload for you to be effective. Our people were expected to deal with more than 350 every month.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beginning of where things are bad, where they are wrong.
And has much really changed, Robert?
To my knowledge, no.
But
No.
Robert, I wanted to add something else to what you said, and this is from a Guardian article yesterday. It says Manohar Ramsaran, the United National Congress minister, who appointed a task force in 1997 to investigate operations at children's homes, says the TNT judicial system was so dysfunctional at that time that he knew alleged abusers will walk and never face consequences.
He's quite right. When you have a judicial system, let's start at the beginning. When you have a judicial system, when any parent or guardian can bring their child before the magistrate and say, I can't control this child. And the magistrate then stamps and sends his child into one of these institutions because they can't control them. And then they end up in this system that's abusing them, and they become victims of a cycle of abuse, even worse than the situation they faced at home most of the time.
But Robert, I want to get another point here before I finish.
Hold on.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you folks, get that?
We are here with Robert Sabga, who was the lead person responsible for the report of that people said 25 years ago. But Robert, I just want to go on, right? It says, speaking to Guardian Media on Thursday, Ramsaran said the TTPS were never held to account and court cases were so lengthy that he knew pursuing prosecution against perpetrators of criminal acts against children at state homes was not the way forward. So that means to say, Robert, that we had a system in Trinidad and Tobago, right, that looked sideways, including people inside the government, with respect to criminal acts happening at children and state homes.
You can put it that way, Anselm, but I don't know that that's fair. I think.
Why not?
Okay. Well, let me finish.
All right, okay, go ahead.
All right. I think Manohar was being very pragmatic, and I'll explain why he opted to go this way. Prior to him being appointed minister after he ran for office and so on, Manohar he was a customs officer. He was one of those who spoke out and who testified for the Scott drug report, the infamous Scott drug report. And if you watch the interview that I was on last night live with him and Robin Montano, he said openly, he said, we went through all of that, all of the Papi show. And everybody who was named in that report retired with full benefits. Nothing was done. So with that experience, how could he have faith in the very police system that you refer to? How?
So the police system has failed these youths in these homes in Trinidad and Tobago.
You see, you're putting words in my mouth.
I'm not putting words in your mouth.
You are.
I'm not.
I'm saying
But that's how we see it, Mr.
The entire system, not just the police. The entire system is broken.
Okay.
It's all the interlocking things together. It's not just one institution that's at fault. It's all.
Making
Robert,
sense. Making sense.
With that in mind, right? I want to go to something else that ties into this here, and I think this is very important.
Sure.
Now, Robert, the homes that receive subvention from the government, based on your report, right? I only want to address 2 or 3 of those homes, because 2 or 3 of those homes were homes that you felt in your report that they should look at very carefully. That is the St. Jude Girls Industrial School, the Shrew, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Jai Lakshmi Home, the National House for Family Reconciliation, and St. Dominic's. Now, when we look at the subvention here, St. Dominic's back then, children's homes, got a $5.3 million subvention.
Mm-hmm.
St. Jude Industrial School got a $2 million subvention. The Sri Jailal Lakshmi Home got a $60,000 subvention, and there was one other that got a $75,000 subvention. And one of those schools, Robert, had no kids. It appears to me, Robert, that this was a partial scheme of corruption, and monies going to these schools, and certain people, individuals, receive benefits from these subventions to these homes. And some people decide we're going to look sideways and not implement changes in these schools.
No, you're grabbing the tiger by the tail. Face it head on.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Face it head on.
Talk to me.
When our task force was established, and I think I told you this yesterday too when we chatted. When our task force was established, we discovered that there's a position, there was supposed to have been, there's a position in the Ministry of Social Development called Inspector of Homes. And the purpose of the individual in that position was to do a regular, ongoing review of the homes, visit them, make sure everything is as it's supposed to be, that they meet all the requirements, and so on. And that's why they will continue to get their subvention. They have to be licensed. They have to meet all these different criteria. Sounds good, right? It's there in the Ministry Act. It's in the rules and guidelines. This is a position, correct? It sounds good. That position had not been filled in more than 15 years when our task force was created. Well, as they say in Trinidad, that's when you cut bush for Guti to run. With no supervision. And these overworked social workers who don't have time to go and do that and look after all of these other cases that they do. I only highlighted domestic violence, but that's not it. That's not all. They get all kinds of other things they have to deal with too.
Mhm.
You know, so who is going to police it? This is where the environment was created and deliberately maintained for what we uncovered as a well-entrenched, a kickback scheme, a system.
So, Robert, you
Where,
agree with me then? You agree with me?
but yeah, what is there to argue with? I'm
Oh, okay.
I'm just putting flesh on your bones. That's all I'm doing.
Oh, okay. All right. You know, and Robert, not only that, right? There was one of the homes where a person was in charge of the homes, and he was also an attorney, and he used to go to court and represent individuals in the homes when there was problems. But you know, Robert, what else? Did the TTPS ever get a copy of this report? If you know,
I can tell you categorically, and I know this, the Hilton guy was given a copy.
oh no, Robert, no. You didn't just say that. Can you repeat that? You sure of that? Are you?
Hilton guy received a copy of the report. I know this for a fact.
So Robert, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service received a copy of your report.
That's again one of these fallacies that's floating around. Manohar made it very clear to me that he never formally, as minister, sent a copy from the Ministry of Social Development over to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. But I'm telling you that a copy ended up with Hilton Guy. And this speaks to a lot of the intrigue at every level. You know, when I tell you there are stories that can never be told, trust me when I say that.
But Robert, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm absorbing all this. Huh? Why do we keep? I mean, these are the children. Oh God, and they're supposed to be the future. When a child's world is no longer safe, when there's no longer, trustworthiness is gone. What kind of society do we have when we treat our children this way? And you talk about stories that can never be told. Shouldn't these stories be told in the interest of these children so that they can grow up and live and not be and be happy and produce and be a productive individual? Isn't that what we want for children? Why should stories never be told?
Will you stand in court and pay my legal fees if some of these stories are told?
We can give you moral support.
Listen. My last name is
But
Sabga.
you know what? Give me and I will go in court and say it. Tell me and I'll go say it.
Hold on. My last name is Sabga. And while I have relatives with the same last name with deep pockets, that's their account, not mine.
Robert, you give me something and I will go in court and say it. I'll let them come after me because it is wrong. It is wrong that children be living like that.
You will get no argument from me. Zero.
I will go and talk. I will talk in a court. You talk to me and I will talk. Okay,
but see, this is where again I have a duty of care.
I understand the duty of care.
No. Let me finish. This is where again I have a duty of care. I can say all kinds of things, but I can't prove it. And without the proof, without evidentiary proof that will stand up in a court, it becomes hearsay.
No, Robert, when you say that, is that the same thing when you look at the case with respect to Akil Chambers and that DNA was found in his anus and there was two individuals who, you didn't call any name, but you said, one was in the PNM. And I mean, a lot of people already called names and, it is alleged that it was Ken Valley. That was alleged. And the other individual, it's alleged that was the Chief Justice Ivo Archie. right? Those were the names that have been called allegedly, with regards to what the statement that you make. I mean, are we way off base here?
I will neither confirm nor deny anything you've just said, Ansem.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's get to this other part, right? This part concerns me very much, Rob. That the National House for Family Reconciliation received a 75,000 subvention from the government and it had no residents. That concerns me a whole lot, Robert. That just smells of corruption to me. Plain talk, bad manners.
Well, I mean, there was a Calabar Foundation that got money for a house that
No, no,
didn't
no, no, we
exist.
shouldn't be going push, Robert. I just we sticking here. We staying here. Don't shouldn't be
So
going push.
what are you
No,
what are you
no, we staying
surprised
here.
about?
No,
What are you
okay,
surprised
okay.
about?
Oh, okay, okay, all right, all right. I thought you was gonna play for the Soca Warriors and shouldn't be going push something.
No. I'm merely pointing out that this is not an isolated thing. What are you surprised about?
No, I am
Remember what I
surprised.
told you. Remember what I told you. There
Mm,
was uh, no supervisory individual, nobody to go and check.
mm,
As far as the ministry was concerned,
mm.
application was made. This is the children's home. Here's their rules and regulations. Here's their documentation to show what it is that they will provide. We want money.
But but Robert, listen. I hear you, right? But listen to this now, right? I am concerned when I hear that the Prime Minister said, "Well, the report should now go to the acting Commissioner of Police, Jacob, right?" And 25 years ago, the Commissioner of Police had the report. So, I mean, are we playing smart with foolishness here? That you want to come before the public and tell them that, oh yeah, no, I'm going to get the report, send the report. I mean, I could be off base here, because I'm just a little boy from
I'm,
Chumac.
I'm just going to speak to what's on the public record.
Okay.
How is it that Camille Robinson Regis can stand up in Parliament and expound at length about how our report is being used as the basis for social policy in the Ministry of Social Development and this and that, expound at length, and then 20 something years later or 20 years later, because this wasn't in 97, I think it was in 02 or whenever it was that she made the statement. It's in the papers. Now pretend she'd never seen it, knew nothing about it, it didn't exist. The Pandey government had buried it. So can we go back in time and bring the Camille Robinson Regis from that time forward so that she can remind the current Camille Robinson Regis about what that Camille Robinson Regis said?
Robert, you know what's sad to me though? And I don't have to play politics. It's sad to me that the government, don't care which government, play politics with our kids.
I won't argue that.
They play politics with our kids, and at the end of the day, certain people walk away with the bag of money, and our kids keep suffering and suffering and suffering. And we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, allow it to happen. And now they want to blame this one, and they want to blame that one. The report was there 25 years ago. The Commissioner of Police get it. He must be throw it in some garbage pail. Well, he didn't throw it in a garbage pail. He must be put it in a disposable file somewhere, right? And all the names, Robert. Now all of a sudden they want to interview all the names. All the names are there in the report. Why the police didn't go and interview those individuals 25 years ago? You guys didn't redact any name from the report, right?
No, whatever we put in, we could substantiate. We could substantiate.
But Robert, here's a concern of mine, right? I am concerned that there were 5 individuals who was from the government on the committee. And when they do their report, they could possibly don't want certain things in there that may make the government look bad. What do you say about that?
No. Again, Anselm, don't fall victim to the false narratives, for
But I'm
God's
asking
sake.
question though. I'm just
Yeah,
asking
but
a question.
I wanna make sure,
Yeah.
as I told you before, I have a duty of care to
Okay.
ensure that the history remains honest.
Mm.
These
But,
were
but
let me finish this. This is a crucial point.
Yeah.
These were ministry appointees. And after our report goes in and it goes to cabinet and the approvals and it's sent back out with the cabinet note and sent back to the ministry for it to be actioned. That's the same ministry these people work in. They were already being harassed and victimized for being part of this task force. So they didn't want anything specifically coming back that would cause them more harm than they already faced. This falls under this whole stories that cannot be told. What mattered to me as chairman in the end is to ensure that whatever was in there we could prove, which I think we did, and also to ensure that our recommendations, those were the key things. The rest of it, I would have liked that some of the things that were in the initial draft ended up in the final document that was passed over. But that's me. I didn't work in the ministries.
So Robert, that's
Okay?
what I'm saying. Some things that were in the initial draft ended up being removed because of situations or individuals who work within the ministry.
That's right. But it was not to protect the government. That is the part I'm objecting to. The government had no hand in this. None. The government hadn't received it yet. How could they put a hand? Manahan never once called to ask Robert Boyd, so and so. I mean, one of the homes you called tried to play, as I call it, the Hindu card, because this was a Hindu government, and tried to have us shut down. The letters he sent are included as part of the evidentiary. We included everything in that regard. We made it plain. But
And that home, Robert,
what we could not include were things like, mysterious phone calls threatening. Even Manaha himself got threatening phone calls, but not from people that anybody could put a finger on.
but Robert, based on the report, right, the home that you mentioned is sure Jalal Shami home. You in the report it said that home was the most distressing
Mm-hmm.
of all the homes, right? Why did you say that home was the most distressing? Or why did the report
You
indicate?
walk in a home and you see a larder full of food, and the children are being fed scraps, and you tell me that wouldn't distress you? You
what do you
tell me that.
mean? What do you mean? What do you mean they were being fed scraps? Could you
Scraps.
elaborate?
I'm telling you, dog rice and chicken foot, scraps.
Mm.
But they were well stocked. We don't know where that food was going, but definitely not to the children.
So that's that. You see. I think I want to say, right, Robert. This thing has become a political football on both sides of the spectrum, right? All of a sudden now it has become, a PNM versus UNC thing. That's the way. That's the way it is in Trinidad, right? At the end of the day, everything becomes PNM versus UNC, and then, for example, we have the opposition
So
leader.
what you're trying to say here, Ansem, the fact is showing here that the short stint that the UNC had, they took some actions more than the PNM. Isn't that what we're seeing? That's staring you in the face.
I'm not talking about that guy. I'm not going down the road of PNM
But
versus
listen,
UNC.
hold on a second, Mr. Sabga. What I'm observing here is for the short stint. You could correct me if I'm wrong because you've been there and you've seen this more firsthand. The short stint that the UNC had in government, they took some actions to put some things in place enhance and advance our ability to solve the issues and to take care of people. The PNM comes in and they knock everything out because the UNC idea and we're back to square one and nothing is done. Am I right or wrong?
100% on the money.
So Ansem cannot come here and say, the PNM and the UNC is the same thing because the whole structure was constructed and nurtured by the PNM and manipulated by the PNM regardless of who in government.
Okay, let me say this. Okay, let me say this. Which government changed the system of all these subventions to these homes, right? And have investigations. I'm asking a question. Which government came in and used the 1997 Sabga report and say, you know what? We see what's happening here. People are getting money. It's a racket. It's corruption. Who changed that? Which government changed that?
The easy answer is none.
Thank you.
But you can't leave it at that.
Okay.
Because you're not. I raised that question way back when the Pandey administration was in. Is why are these homes still being subvented? And the answer I gave in the answer I was given in a convoluted kind of way, I understood. It was basically, if you stopped giving subventions to these homes, you would be, in essence, abandoning the children already in there. They felt it was better keep giving the subvention, but work with the homes so that they can improve the level of care that they are giving. Now, that is where things fell down. I will not argue that.
But Robert, your recommendation was that Sister Dominic Xavier and Sister Marina Surratt be fired.
Right out, correct.
You get rid of, were they fired?
Nope.
There you go. So you see, what we want to, again.
But it's not within the ambit. They fell under the Carmelite order and other religious orders. Even the Archbishop couldn't get them fired.
And it was taken to the Archbishop as well. And now too, we have the new Archbishop coming out and saying they're going to do an investigation now. I mean, it's spinning top in mud.
And yet Sister Dominic Xavier was just eulogized.
Yes.
As being this fantastic individual by the very same Roman Catholic Church just a few months ago. I'm not talking 25 years ago, just a few months ago.
And they got the highest subvention, $5.3 million.
I better call Andal Roberts and tell him, nah, boy, you have some competition now.
$1 million. And Robert, we play a song here in the village by Explainer. We just can't go on this way. We are heading to hell in a wastebasket over and over, and all we continue saying is PNM versus UNC, PNM versus UNC.
Look,
Anselm, we're approaching top of the hour.
Okay. Let me just
Robert, hold 1 minute. Just look, we gotta go for a quick station identification. Of course, fact codes, and we're gonna get to a few questions. We have with us no other than Robert Sabga, who was, and Robert, when we come back, people ask, what made you qualify to be the leader of that group? And they have to know that you are a victimologist, and you're going to explain to people what is a victimologist. We'll be right back. It's In the Village with the Dark Triplets, a special edition of In the Village with the Dark Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Stick and stay, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back after this short message.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE LP 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM. All opinions and views expressed by the program participants, including those on social media, are solely their opinions and views and do not reflect the opinions and views of WZYE management and staff.
We are back with you. It's Individuals with the Dark Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM, and we glad we have with us no other than Mr. Robert Sabga, and he has joined us, taking some time away from his family in order to join us, and we do appreciate that, Robert. We know that when you are finished here, you're going to go and have a spectacular rest of the day,
Make it stop, God. Please make it stop.
Robert, why are you laughing at me, Robert? Robert, you laughing at me? Why are you laughing at me?
Let's go on.
Okay, all right. So Robert, so continue on before we just did the break. All right. We were talking about before the break, right? Diana, just remind me what we were talking about.
You wanted to ask me about whether or what is a victimologist and so on.
Yes, right. What it is, and some people had a question: what made you qualified in order to get that position as the lead for that endeavor that you guys went on?
Okay, let me deal with the first thing first, and then we'll move to the next thing. A victimologist, at least in my day, because the term has changed now. The term that's used these days is traumatologist. It's no longer victimologist. Lexicons change, but essentially it's the same thing. Psychologist who specializes in working with victims of violence. That's my training. I can give you my transcripts from Illinois State University if you want. I've worked in all kinds of places, up to and including working in a hospice, which is with terminally ill patients. So I have a vast experiential background, but the area I chose for me to focus on, and it came out of my work at rape crisis clinics in Mississauga and also in Bloomington, Illinois, where I got my master's degree. That's why I decided this was the avenue I wanted to go into. I was and remain a life member of the World Society of Victimology. There is such a body. You can look it up. And so that's what makes me a victimologist. As I said, the term has changed somewhat now because victimology ended up being an arm of criminology. So in order for you to keep it separate from a social science and keep it within the realm of behavioral science, which is where psychology falls, they now refer to it as traumatology. So I guess, although I took my shingle down years ago, so I no longer practice. But the term that was vogue then was victimology. It was new in Trinidad. I was the only victimologist in the Caribbean. But that was the basis of my expertise. Now, as regards how did I qualify? I didn't qualify. I was approached. I was asked because I was well known in Trinidad. I'd been writing in The Guardian from, I think, 1988 until 1993. I wrote for 5 years for The Guardian. I had a weekly column called Betrayal, the column for and about victims of violence. And I became very well known at that time. I ended up spending half my time actually doing activism on behalf of women and children in difficult circumstances. I spoke to PTA groups. I spoke to all kinds of schools, so I was well known. I was involved in the setting up of the very first halfway house in Trinidad, in Gasparillo. I was a founding member of the Coalition against domestic violence. I gave input into a lot of the legislation that looked into that that addressed domestic violence in law, so because of all of that activity, as Pandey used to jokingly say to me, I became a victim of my own success. So, but that's how when this task force was conceptualized and Manaha wanted it done, he felt I was the best person. I didn't ask for it. I was approached and asked if I would head it up.
So here is a question, right, Robert? Someone said, ask Robert Sabga what prevented him and Diana Mahabir from getting his report acted upon much quicker.
What could we have done? We completed our report. We handed it in with the full expectation that because we were commissioned by the Ministry of Social Development, all right, we handed it in. There was all kinds of intrigue involved in that too, because of the level of apprehension and suspicion and threat that hung over all of us. I mean, we were really afraid. I can't say that enough. It's a visceral fear. When I handed this report over to Manaha, we met in the parking lot at night, and I transferred it from my car trunk to his. This is how secret this thing in the end was. There were so many people that either wanted the task force shut down or have us prevented from getting access to certain things. The threats, I can't begin for me to encapsulate how truly in danger we felt. So, it's very easy 25 years after the fact that, all these armchair critics, oh, you could have done this, you could have gone to police, you could have done that. What could we have done? We handed it over with the full expectation that all of our recommendations would be acted on by the appropriate authorities. And I believe, quite honestly, that to the best of their ability, they did what they felt they could do. But remember, it's one thing for cabinet to say, yes, we approve all of these recommendations, and they stamp it, and then you put it like in the pink sleeve, and then you send it on to the very ministries in which those who are involved in this whole eater food scheme, as they call it, are then required to act on it. That's when you hit brick wall. That's when you hit inertia. That's when you hit molasses.
So I guess I don't know if this is accurate, Robert, but people are blaming you 25 years later and saying, well, why you didn't come forward sooner when you did what you were supposed to do, right? You guys were put together in order to do a report. You did a report, you handed over, you yourself handed over to the minister at that time, Manohar Ransarab. I hope I got his name correct, right?
Correct.
And once that happens, basically things are out of your hands now, out of the committee hands, and there are now people within the government who have now to act on that report.
Exactly correct.
Right.
We completed our task. We did so despite the enormous odds that were weighed against us. We did it to the best of our ability. I sleep very well at night, Anston. I have no regrets. My only regret, honest to God, my only regret is that the children who trusted us with their stories never got the justice they deserved. I look back and I ask myself time and again, is there anything more we could have done? You read the report now.
Yeah, I read everything.
You answer that question to me. Is there anything else? Could we have used stronger language?
I mean, Robert, I got to be honest with you. I read that report. I read all 97 pages of the report, and I was flabbergasted, flabbergusted, flabberhusted, flabbermusted. All the flabbers that you can get, I was flabberized in that the depth of the report and the names that were called, and the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service had names. The worst they could have do is calling these people for interviews.
And did we recommend that, Anselm? I'm asking you a question. Did we
No,
make
yes,
that?
you did. You did. There were names. There was a 16-year-old boy who was molesting the kids in the home, and they brought him back into the home rather than put him into another place. I mean, it was mind-boggling. It was just mind-boggling. And now today we want to come and we want to blame this one and blame that one, only
But
passing
you see,
blame.
it's all my fault. It's all my fault.
Well, you're passing all these blames, and the problem is still there today. The problem is still there because, Robert, if you know, are there more homes today than there were back then? If you
They've
know,
doubled. There's twice as many homes now as there were in my day. I asked you this question yesterday, Anselm. Where did all those extra children come from? If the system got fixed, why did it double in 25 years? And those are the ones we know about.
somebody got to eat their food.
I understand from that there are some of them in there that are Venezuelan migrant children also now today, and there's a language barrier. And I say to myself, don't we have in school children and people at university that have a propensity to foreign languages? Can't we put these people to act as a mediator and translator, give them life credit to their course? Why, Robert? Why do you think Trinidad and Tobago is like stuck in this warped and non-progressive way? Why doesn't is this someone that does not want Trinidad and Tobago to evolve and come out of this doldrums that we're in and to go forward, fix things once and for all and let the country progress? You think these things are deliberately done to keep Trinidad and Tobago at a standstill?
I will answer that in two ways. The first is I learned growing up in Tobago and especially in Barbados. I'll use your example. They say the place is so small that you know one half the people and the other half know you. So there are no secrets. But at the same time, you're always vulnerable because you can't hide. The other part is, and this speaks to the forces that prevent these things from being changed. Somebody sent me a link this morning. Apparently now I'm the quote of the day. And they're using the line they used the other day in an interview on radio. That sheep spend their entire lives afraid of the wolf, but in the end, it's the shepherd that eats them. When you have the people who are in charge, who are the very ones who are most culpable, why do you expect things to change?
Well, then a new party has to come in there with new progressional, transformational ideas and move the country forward. And that is why I preach to the Trinbagonians in the next upcoming election to vote conscience instead of party. Vote your conscience. Do you want the country the way it is? You want to continue with the same old, or do you want progress when your children come out of school, there are jobs for them, the country is safe for the women, this whole children situation with the children in the homes, this needs to be fixed because I'm an advocate for children. They can give me the job and I will go and I will fix it. And what I will do, I will purge the system of with those people now. And anybody has to call me 12 o'clock in the night that something is wrong with a child, somebody getting fired. You have to have that kind of mentality dealing with you. You can't turn out these children in society hurt and harm. They're gonna go to crime.
But you aren't qualified, the current head of the Children's Authority got that position because she's a PNM candidate that
I need a work. Let me take care of the country's children. I bet you that nobody's gonna cross Diana Benskin the storm. Let a child, and I'm gonna have to let the child know, hey, you're here because I have to develop you to become a progressive individual. But interfere with any children under my watch, Robert, and you'll find you'll really see the storm come up. This is the mentality you need to have dealing with a ministry like that. You can't have children being abused and not safe. The world is they're gonna come out. That's why we have so much criminals running around.
No argument. I agree 100%. No argument.
And Robert, I hear you, and Diana, I hear you. But I just wanted to get back quickly to a part of the report, which amazed me as well. It said, to the profound amazement of the task force, the Public Health Department at Port of Spain City Hall submitted a report to the City Medical Officer of Health, dated April 8, 1997, which was forwarded to the task force undercover from Dr. Daniel Chang, PMOH, I don't know what that is, on 15 April.
Public Medical Officer of Health.
Right. The letter reads in part. An inspection, and they were talking about a certain home here, an inspection revealed no evidence of poor environmental sanitation as stated by the cabinet-appointed task force. So, Robert, they're saying that there's no evidence. No evidence of rodents or vermin. It's like the rodents and vermin that stay there all the time. You know? It's like you make a report and you say there's vermin and rodent, and when the next person come after, all of a sudden, the rodents and vermin disappear, and you go say that the vermin were there. It didn't make no sense. There was some German cockroach in the kitchen. They agreed to this. There was some German cockroach in the kitchen area of the Carmel House unit. Insecticides are currently being used to abate this nuisance. Robert, I'm not going to read anymore. I'm really not going to read anymore. You know what I mean? It's just crazy that all these people getting these reports and is excuse after excuse after excuse. You know, I was George of a song singing fet after fet after fet after fet. In Trinidad, we should pop a new soca, excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Nobody.
Shaggy said it best. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. There was a question here, Robert. Why was the abuser given a recommendation to pursue a job at a hospital?
Okay, I give up. Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
But unless we fix the structure of the TTPS and to prevent political interference in the obstruction and operation of the TTPS, and then we have to work also with the justice system in that things are processed, as it should be. These are the two main things that we have to fix. The TTPS, I am concerned about the initial incident report of the Akil Chambers case. What happened to that report? What happened to the evidence? And other similar cases that got swept under the carpet. I mean, here we have the TTPS responsible.
I will take you back further. Everybody keeps saying, oh, but there's no mention in your report of this so-called the pedophile ring. We used coded language because we could not out and out come out and say, this is what we suspect. It's quoted in part in an article. I was actually trying to find it on the break, but that's okay. The language we used was the task force prefers to assume that it was this and not an incident of child prostitution, which was, of course, another way of saying a pedophilia.
Why not speak? Okay.
Let me finish.
Mm-hmm.
The talk of there being a pedophile ring was not new. Wasn't something we miraculously discovered. It was one of these hush-hush little secrets. Remember, I sat as a member of the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. We heard about this a long time. You want to ask about what is the TTPS doing? I'll take you back to the incident with Hans Booz. Do you remember that? Does that name ring a bell for you?
No, not for me.
Hans Booz was the curator of the Emperor Valley Zoo. And in the early 90s, based on some kind of tip, the police raided his house and found a huge collection of photographs and videos of child pornography. We'll just leave it at that. He was arrested and he was ultimately jailed. He was charged and he was jailed for pedophilia. And supposedly the police were going to be doing an intensive investigation, trying to identify all of these children that he had pictures of. And you never heard boo about that investigation again. And we always suspected, when I say we, in my circle at the time, not the task force, we always suspected that that was killed because Hans Booz couldn't have been the only molester of those children. Somebody was taking the pictures while they were being abused. And if, in fact, that was proof that there was a pedophilia ring at work, and they use whatever influence they had. You read into this whatever you want. And all this happened under the first Manning administration. Again, draw whatever inferences you want. I am not in a position where I can speak factually to this. I'm only telling you, when it came specifically to the investigation into who were these children that were in all of these pictures and videos, you never heard boo about that investigation again, ever.
But Robert, here's my question along that same line. The opposition leader said within the PNM, there's a pedophile ring within the PNM, right? Is that something you will subscribe to?
He can neither confirm or deny.
Let me turn that around. There is a pedophile ring. It has been known about for nearly 30 years and probably longer, but we've known about it for at least 30 years. There is a pedophile ring. All right. I would not doubt that there are some members of that political group who are members of that ring. That's as far as I will go.
So you are saying members of that political group. So you are just singling out one political group as opposed to political groups in Trinidad and Tobago?
I was asked on the Buxo Pot show. This is what caused this whole furor with Akil of Chambers. I was asked on that show pointedly, did we discover any evidence of UNC individuals being named as being involved in molesting children and so on? And I said I can categorically say no, absolutely not.
Okay.
So then the person asked me, were there any members of the PNM? And that's when I said, I can neither confirm nor deny that. But I was referring to, again, the two names. And when it became this whole Akil Chambers thing got linked to it, I was dropping a hint. I said, if you remember this case of the young boy who was buggered and supposedly drowned and so on, we know now that was not the case. He wasn't drowned. He ended up in the pool. But I said, if you remember that case, there was the semen of these two individuals were discovered in his body, and that forensic report has also gone the route of our report. It disappeared. I was asked, that's as far as I'm going. I will say no more.
And we have to hold the TTPS responsible for this. Responsible for containing those evidence. We have to hold them responsible.
You see, I'm of the opinion that this is Tom. I'm of the opinion that what will occur and keep occurring in not only in this arena but many others is that you wouldn't be able to have anything come out of these things. Why? Because there's not an overarching system. For example, if this something goes wrong in the state and the state can't take care of it, you call the FBI, right? Because there's an overarching federal system. That's what we need in the Caribbean to clean up all the mess that's going on in all of the islands. We need a Caribbean unity to fix the Caribbean. And that's the only way we're going to have a better tomorrow. That's my opinion.
They've been trying that with the CCJ for how long?
Yeah, for years now.
Decades.
Yeah. It's been tried for years.
Yeah, but they don't really want that to happen because everybody is a king on a hill and they don't want to lose any of their power.
You know one half the people, the other half know you. You can't hide.
You know, but Robert, at the end of the day, I mean, I will empower people to actually read that 97-page report. It's a what is it? It's I mean, I'm trying, and I'm not normally lost for words, right, Robert? You know, I'm looking for a word to find that there is so many people responsible who have left and decided that for whatever reason it is. And that's why we hear previously Ms. Karen Nunes Tushera, who was part of the PNM, she said there's corruption rampant in Trinidad, and of course she left right and center. Right? And here we have this report that shows you that in 1997, there was things going on. Instead of there being less of it, in order for it to happen, there is more of it for more of it to happen. Right? I mean, Robert, has the legislation made any difference? If you know?
The legislation was a step in the right direction. The execution is where things fell down. You know, I'll draw you to something unrelated, but it paints a picture. During my activism days, I'm going back now to 93, and this was why I don't know this for a fact, but this is why I suspect my column with The Guardian was ultimately killed. When he was in opposition in the NAR days, Patrick Lanning was a great friend of mine. He would call me every morning, 6:30 in the morning. My wife will tell you, I'd be sitting at the edge of my bed in my underwear, sipping my coffee and talking to Patrick on the phone every single morning without fail. When he became prime minister, I was Robert who? He waved at me once.
No, Robert.
I swear to God, he waved at me once when we passed each other in San Fernando. I was heading out. I was heading home. He was heading out somewhere. But Robert, that's not the story I want to tell. I'm just giving you context. I advised 3 successive governments on social policy and social service delivery, and that included the Manning administration. But what got me incensed beyond words, this is ultimately what I feel that led to not just the fracture, but the break between me and Manning. We got into a war of words. And understand this. I wrote a column one week where I was lamenting what I viewed as the distressing increase of street children, because I was seeing them every day driving into and out of Port of Spain. They'd be at all the corners begging or trying to sell things and so on, instead of being in school. All right? And I wondered to myself, what's happening to these kids? Why are they out on the street? Where's their home structure? Whatever. So I said, we have this distressing thing with street children. You know, Manning stood up on a platform and thundered, we do not have street children. We have children in the street. And I went to myself, Where is this man's head? How disconnected can you be? And shortly thereafter, the Guardian informed me, we regret that we can no longer be carrying your columns and so on. So I always assumed the two were related.
So,
I
so,
should
so, so,
wait. I should point out, I had a laugh nearly 10 years later. I'd left the embassy then. I was in quiet retirement. Manning had a VAPS one time. He was back in after the 1818 thing on moral and spiritual values and so on. He had this VAPS that he watched this movie with oh gosh, who's the Spanish guy again?
in the movies?
Yes.
No, I can't help it, Robert.
You can. Hang on, let me look it up.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. Hold on.
Mm. So, folks, of course, it's In the Village with the Dark Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us here Robert Sabga, who is I would say, the leader of the report back in
I was
1997.
chairman of the task force. Don't call
Chairman
me
of
no
the
leader.
chairman of the task force on the report that was submitted to the government of Trinidad and Tobago back then in 1997. And what we are doing today, we are having a discussion, a so in-depth discussion, regarding that report. And we are also,
Okay.
discussing a few other things as well. Go ahead.
Okay. The movie was called Take the Lead with Antonio Banderas. And what it is a story of a true story of a dance teacher who went into some troubled middle city school in the U.S. I think it was New York. I don't know. It's been a great many years since I saw the movie, but he took members of gangs and he started to teach them of ballroom dancing. And out of that came this whole thing where they became, focused on the dancing and new social rules and so on. It's really a very good movie. But what I found hilarious was on a VAPS, because he had made Hazel Manning his wife, he'd made her the Minister of Education. He decided it's a great idea. We're going to introduce ballroom dancing in schools, especially on the East-West corridor in Trinidad. How long do you think that idea lasted?
A week.
Why?
Ballroom dancing. I don't know.
Why?
That's kind of slippery, kind of light on the feet.
No, not that.
Maybe
Because there's no ballroom dancer teachers in
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad. They could twerk, they could whine, they could do all kinds of other things, but no ballroom dancers.
But Robert, I want to get back to our point here, right? The Guardian killed your column. Were you saying that the Guardian killed your column because of?
I said I always suspected.
Oh, you suspected.
I can't prove it because the coincidence is just, here it was. I was writing about street children. He stands up and says, "We don't have street children. We have children in the street." Next thing you know, my column is axed. It's a sequence, but I could never. It's always something I've always suspected, but I don't know that that's a fact.
No, but I want to ask you a question. You don't have to answer if you wanted to. I mean, back in 1997, were you a supporter of the PNM or the UNC?
Not the PNM.
Okay, you were not a supporter of the PNM.
Of the PNM.
Did you ever support the...
I was very friendly. I was very friendly with Basil Pandey. He actually offered me at one point. He asked me if I would become a senator. I refused him. I wasn't interested in public office. I genuinely was not. And he asked me to run in the 95 election. Again, I wasn't interested. But I was friendly with him. I went on his invitation. I went to a couple of his political meetings, and I was already very distressed the Manning administration at that time was totally off course. A captain, the ship was sinking, the whole bit. It was just you know, and I wanted change.
Did you
So
get exchange instead of change, though? You think you
no,
got
I don't think
exchange?
so. I think in retrospect, and most people would agree with me, the Pandey administration was perhaps one of the best governments we ever had. He was a first class prime minister. Did he have issues and problems? No argument.
Mm.
But in terms of performance, you
But
know,
what about corruption issues, though, Robert? I mean, there was some
the only
corruption issues.
the only things that ever surfaced that is this whole um, Brian Ish and Steve thing, and I was very friendly with with Ishwar Galbaran Singh. You know, as a human being, I found him always a delightful individual. Whatever dealings they may have had in behind and thing, I don't know. I'm not party to it. I cannot pass any any comments pro or con. I know I'm not naive enough for me to assume that you finance a party and not try to get some money back out of it. But these fellas were already wealthy,
You
you
know,
know.
Robert, it's interesting that you say that, right? Which financer in Trinidad and Tobago will finance a party and not expect to get something in return?
It's quid pro quo and happens all around the world.
But why a small country like Trinidad and Tobago with 1.4 million people, we don't have um, finance, what we call it again? Finance campaign legislation or finance campaign. So in Trinidad, anybody could give anybody, $5 million and, no problem. When we get in office, you have a company, we give you back contracts for 50 million, so you make back your 5 million or whatever campaign donation. I mean,
Well, you want an oil refinery? I don't know what to tell you. You know, uh, there is an arm of politics which is just straightforward business. You want a return on your investment. It's not an excuse. It doesn't have to be acceptable. Should there be campaign finance reform? Absolutely. I believe in accountability.
yes,
I
yes.
genuinely do. I think everything should be accountable. You have nothing to hide, but at least show your hand. The problem is, especially in our politics, and our politics is sadly very antagonistic. You know,
Yep.
as I learned firsthand. You know, because when I was fired from my position as High Commissioner
You were fired? Why were you fired?
by the Manning administration when they won by morality
But,
and
but, but,
whatnot.
but Robert, let's be honest though, right? Isn't it normal that when a new party comes into power, anyone who is high commissioner, ambassador, all
Should
that stuff, they 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 they,
except
they they're
except
gone.
except I was given a directive by Basdio Pandey.
Mm.
He said we didn't lose. Don't resign. Let them fire you.
No, but Robert, I think I would think it's like in Trinidad when a new party comes into power, all the people on the boards from the previous party they're gone.
I agree 100%. But what I'm telling you, I
Mm.
followed the direction of the man who appointed me. This was when it was 1818, and it was decided by A.N.R. Robinson that he would hand the crown over to Robbie, which
You mean
you
to
know,
Manning? To Manning.
sorry,
Yeah.
handed over on this mysterious um, um, uh, 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 moral and
Moral and
spiritual grounds.
spiritual.
No,
Yeah,
but
Moral
moral and
and
no,
spiritual.
but no, that's unfair, though, Robert. I mean, as a
look,
president,
look,
you
look,
have
look,
to
look,
make a
look.
this.
No, I agree, and I
Yeah,
I
that's
had
unfair.
wanted I had wanted to tender my resignation out of because I felt it was the proper thing to do.
And
But
that's what I'm
the
saying.
man who appointed me,
Mm.
and he gave me and everybody else the instruction: do nothing.
Maybe
Let
that's
them
why.
fire you.
But then that's why Manning went with moral and spiritual authority. Because if Mr. Pandey was following the way things have been done previously and the way things have normally been done, right?
The way things normally listen. If
Yeah.
you are let's say you are a heavyweight champion.
Well, no,
Okay.
listen to this.
No. This is
All right.
important. If you're
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
heavyweight champion, you go in a fight, and neither individual wins or loses. It's a draw.
Right.
Okay. Can any one individual declare himself the winner, or should you go back and go again?
Well, that's different, though.
No, but it's not.
No, yes, it is.
In this instance, his miscalculation, and I know in retrospect, because he told me this himself, he regretted trusting
A&R
Robbie.
Robinson.
Yeah, he regretted trusting him. He felt that since he had made A&R the president, that at least
You should have made him prime minister.
No, that on balance, he would have ruled in Pandey's favor. All right, so it was an expectation that blew up in his face. It didn't work out as he
But
anticipated.
should the sitting prime minister have the preferences if there was a tie?
Exactly. You didn't lose. You weren't voted out.
But the Constitution doesn't say that, though.
You're going back now. How
We have to be fair, though. We have to be fair. If the Constitution says that there's a tie and the president will make the decision, we can't all of us then want to.
The Constitution never said that.
But who is then able to make that decision when there's a tie?
It was Pandey that said, after he met with Manning, because they were trying to arrive at some kind of a resolution. Pandey said, "All right, let's leave it up to the president."
Okay, so if he said that, then you can't backpedal after that. The decision is now out of your hands.
And he stood by that. But I'm telling you,
I'm
telling you, this was the instruction he gave all of us. Because I said to him, Chief, I've drafted my letter of resignation. He said, "No, we didn't lose. Don't hand it in. Let them fire you." That was his exact words to me. That's all ancient history. That's all ancient history.
That's where going and over and done with. But it's nice to know, though. It's nice to know. That's just for history in Trinidad.
You're getting some truth. You're getting some truth here.
Well, history is always good. I love history. And coming from Robert, it's like if I know Robert now for like 10 years,
Straighten up your back.
And we only talked yesterday for the first time. We spoke yesterday. We had a splendiferous discussion, man. It was wonderful. And Robert, before we go, right, and I appreciate you giving us the time here, Robert. Robert, if you had to look into your crystal ball or your crystal glass and look at the report 25 years ago, what are some of the things you would say that should have been done that we are not basically at the same place today?
Look, there's a couple of individuals that you have named that are named in there that we felt presented a real and present danger to the children in their care that we wanted gotten rid of once and for all.
So that's Sister Dominic Xavier, Sister Marina Surratt, as two of those individuals who you felt was clear and present danger, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. There was also some clear abuses of the system. Clear. There was enormous evidence of malfeasance, of what we euphemistically called a kickback scheme. All right, and it was well entrenched. The oversight system that should have been in place, especially through the appointment of an inspector of homes, because of that lacuna, that space, that emptiness, so that existed in that role in more than 15 years, plus all of the other issues that compounded that. Those things all needed to be rectified. Look, I genuinely believe that the Pandey administration did what they could. Those 6 pieces of legislation, the creation of the Children's Authority and so on, those didn't come out of thin air. Those came in direct response to a number of the issues that we raised, because they recognized that that these were areas that needed support. This is where the system was broken. So you try to fix the system, beginning with the places that are most broken. The Children's Authority should never have been or never have become the equivalent of a state enterprise, where you populate it with your supporters and your political candidates. It's not a state board. This is a very serious entity. It should have been staffed with people who were properly qualified, properly trained, and who knew and understood the duty of care that was required of them. All right. Furthermore, the Children's Authority should not be in the business of running their own homes. That's not their purpose.
Right.
Their purpose is to oversight, make sure that the homes that exist are following the rules and guidelines and
Exactly.
giving the quality of care that the children that are sent to those homes deserve. All of that is what went askew. This government, I'm sorry to say, but this government has nothing to pound its chest and be proud about. Nothing. Not in that regard. And now with 39 schools and the kickback system is alive and well and all of these other things that I've seen, and they want to point fingers at me from 25 years ago.
Now, Robert, here's a quick question from the chat, right? Well, it's a statement and a question. It said it had to have been politicians that suppressed your report and suppressed the police response. I'm not sure, I'm just reading it. Because politicians were involved, not so, and politics protecting their own. What do you say?
My report was never suppressed. It was vetted. It was laid in Parliament. Legislation came out of it. Where things died is when as you referred to earlier, when a new government comes in, they get rid of everything the last government was doing. Within the system, when the Pandey administration had vetted it at the cabinet level, and it was approved and then sent down for it to be actioned, then it's sent back into the very system that did not want it to be actioned, because it was interfering with this whole eater food thing. You were mashing the corns of the very people who wanted things to remain the same. So for you to say, oh, it's politicians, their actual involvement is actually very limited. It's the people in the system that create the inertia, the lack of movement, the reason why things don't happen. And then it's very easy, once it's in the system, for things to end up in a bottom drawer and then ultimately in a garbage pail somewhere.
You know, someone also says government come, government go. And well, I don't know if they all fail, but
I don't know. I don't know if you remember that there's a BBC show. It's brilliant. It's called Yes Minister, and then afterwards they had Yes Prime Minister. But there's a line in that when Sir Humphrey says, they don't call us permanent secretaries for nothing.
I get it. Permanent means government come, or politician comes and politician go, but permanent secretary stays.
And people in the public service.
Right.
And that's the machinery that is responsible for actioning anything that government decides. But that's also where things go to die if it's not in their favor.
Robert, do we need to redo our constitution? Does our constitution need to be updated? Because it seems that we are living in the 1890s in Trinidad. And let me give you a quick example, right? Like, I am a dual citizen here in this country, right? And I would like to go back home to serve the constituency of Chumaka Clavanto. People know that by now. They know that. Then everything, every time they say...
Yeah, but Fitzgerald Hines might not like that too much unless you walk with a standpipe.
Robert, I will leave that one alone. But let me tell you this, right? I have dual citizenship, and the Constitution says I cannot have citizenship of another country in order to become a minister or MP, right? Fine. However, in this country, you can become a senator in this country, United States of America, and have dual citizenship. However,
you can also have that in Trinidad as a senator, but not.
You can become a senator.
And it's the same thing with me when I was appointed as High Commissioner, by the way, because I wasn't a dual citizen then, but I was a Canadian landed immigrant, and I needed for me to rescind that because they could not grant me diplomatic immunity in a country that I was already accepted as well, not quite a citizen, but you know what I mean. So you can only pledge allegiance to one flag. This is what Robert LaHunt ran into. He was a citizen of Ghana and had to give that up in order to serve, and so on. So yes, but I believe that as a senator, you can be a dual citizen.
Yeah, so I was just following the way we do here because we selectively follow United States when we want to follow it, and then don't follow it in other situations.
Because our Constitution and in fact our whole system of government, our legal system, everything is based on the British model, not on the U.S.
I get it. Now here's something else from someone, Robert. I would like to have you respond to this. Catherine Stallmeyer says, "I'm ashamed to be a Trinidadian. All I'm hearing is excuses and how this disgusting system will continue." What do you say about that?
I agree with her. What can I say? I look, you do what you can do. You can't fix everything. You know that there's that adage about the old man and the young boy walking on a seashore. And every now and then the old man will bend down and he'll pick up a starfish and he'll throw it back into the ocean. And the young boy watches him do this a few times and he says to him, "Why are you wasting your time? There are millions of starfish washed up on beaches all around the world. You think you picking up a few of these and throwing them back in the ocean is going to make any difference at all?" And the old man smiles as he picks up another starfish and he throws it into the ocean. He says, "Well, it made a difference to that one."
And Robert, I wanted to say hello to a friend of mine's, Marcia Braveboy. If you could say hello to Marcia Braveboy, I see you smiling. You're smiling. Just
Why? You think you have the monopoly on having Marcia Braveboy as a friend?
I just, Robert Sabga, just say hello to Marcia.
Hello, Marcia.
Thank you very much, Robert. It's really appreciated. So Robert, as we go forward in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Do you believe changing from one party to the next is going to improve the lives of those? Oh, Robert, I want to ask you something before we get to that. I'll get back to that. Do you believe that, based on what the Prime Minister said, that you have to make the rich richer to help the poor? You believe that?
No. That's look. That's a revision of the famous Reaganomics, the trickle-down theory of economics.
Okay.
If you spend money at the top, it will trickle down to everybody below them. You know, I've been a CEO in various businesses and entities for this is aside from me being a psychologist, because honestly, folks, psychology doesn't pay the bills. But I'm a firm believer that there are of two kinds of leadership. One is leadership by direction, which is what everybody understands. You do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. Everybody understands that. But the other one is leadership by support, where you bring people up. You give them the tools they need so that they can improve and better themselves. And that's what's lacking. Everybody assumes that, you know, if you pay the big corporations or give them tax breaks and so on, they will employ more people. It doesn't work that way. Because the bigger they become, the more they want to import, because very little is actually made in Trinidad. The more they want to import, the more you have to find foreign exchange for. That means that money has to come from somewhere else, and so on and so on. So no, it doesn't work. You know, it's like when you look at the prevalence of crime in Trinidad. This is an argument I used to make back in 1990. I used to call it the snowstorm theory of crime. You know, Morgan Job and I used to have some hefty discussions, but we agreed on one thing. It may be criminal for you to be poor, but being poor does not make you criminal.
Correct is right.
You know, some of the biggest criminals we had then and still have are very wealthy people.
In Trinidad, don't forget that, in Trinidad.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
They're very wealthy people. They're not poor. So, no, look, God, I was going to a point now, and I had a senior moment there.
No, that's all right. We all get to that at some point in time, and we're going to get back to that, because I think, Robert, these are the kind of things. But you know what I think, though, Robert? Some people listening to you might say that some of the things you are saying is because you may be anti-PNM. What do you say about that?
As an individual, I'm entitled to my own opinion.
Correct.
Where we separate is that doesn't mean I'm entitled to my own facts. And the facts they inform my opinion. And facts are what they are. As Hazel Manning loved to say, you know, facts are stubborn things. And the facts are what they are. They aren't Robert Sabga's invention. And from what I've seen, based on the facts, I don't think this particular regime is in the best interest of the country.
You know, Robert, I got to tell you, though, I agree with you, you know. I'm a supporter of the PNM. But I'm fully agreeing with you, full 100. I ain't going to agree with you. But also, Robert, on the other side, I don't think there's any facts to show that, based on Mrs. Kamla Persad-Perses's statement, that the PNM is a pedophile ring.
Is that what she said? Or is it that she said that there exists a pedophile ring within the PNM?
Okay. Let's take that way.
Wait, okay. But I don't know that she meant it necessarily exclusively within the domain of the PNM. But there's no question. Hang on. I don't want to play politics. I'm not a politician. I have no axe to grind here, like in the political of Gael, if you will. But there's no question that the knee-jerk reaction that resulted from the guarded comments that I gave, clearly somebody's nerve, somebody's corn got mashed. Clearly. You don't get the kind of vitriolic, venomous utterances and vigorous defense that I've seen emerging, especially on social media, unless you really hit a nerve. If Robert Sabga was crazy and was not to be taken seriously, none of that would have happened. None of it. I'd be laughed off. So clearly, I hit a nerve.
So 1 minute, Robert. So Robert, here what it says, right? Opposition leader. Yeah, I did it. Thanks, Gary. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar has called on police to investigate reports of a long-standing pedophile ring operating within the People's National Movement.
Okay, then you have to ask Kamla that. I can't speak for her.
I'm just saying. You know, and we were talking about facts. When you talk about, you speak based on the facts, and that's what I tell people too. I like to speak based on facts.
Okay.
Because facts tells you a picture, you know. And you know something, Robert, you might be experiencing this. When you put facts on the table, it's called something called ad hominem attacks. When people cannot deal with your facts, it becomes an ad hominem attack to attack you personally.
You kill the messenger, not the message.
And I understand that full 100 because I'm one of those persons who have been attacked personally when I put facts on the table, and they don't like the type of facts I'm putting on the table. So trust me, I fully understand. Just one or two quick things before you go, Robert. And Robert, I want to say, I really thank you. You know, you're so patient and kind and mellow. You know, I could tell your grandchildren are very happy when they're hanging out with you.
Thank you very much, Anselm.
But am I talking truth or am I just
no? I accept what you say with all humility. Thank you. Go on.
Okay. All right. I mean, when I have grandchildren too, I want them to be able to come and, you know, enjoy their grandfather and sit down and chat, and I could tell them experiences from long ago and things like that. You know what I mean? So here we go. Quickly now. 25 years has passed. Lana says 25 years has passed and still children getting abused. That means the system never was fixed.
That's correct. I agree with that.
You see? And this is...
And it comes back to, and I want to highlight this time and again, comes back to lack of oversight. That's where the major break is. There is no meaningful oversight. But anyway, go on.
Someone else says.
Robert, I have a comment.
Diana, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Let me just get this quickly out to the chat here, because you know we like to involve our people in the chat. Curry says, how do parents move on from losing a child the way Aki lost his life?
Some things you never get past. You never get over. I don't have an answer to that.
Okay. Another one. Tropic says, only enforcement for the soul of a nation. Enforcement instead of 25 years of evil. What do you say?
No argument. I agree.
Oh, what boy, Robert is easy going. We just have about two more, Robert. Everything that's going wrong with nobody being held accountable is because of the system.
Exactly correct.
What?
It's true. That's what I said.
It is.
It's when it gets into this. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, guys.
I say just can't say the system is the managers of the system is the problem.
No, guys, the system.
No. The managers of the system. When you change a government, you change the government to take charge to manage because you didn't like the previous government how they were managing. And when
Gary,
they done it, and if you don't grab the bull by the horn, then you're wasting your time.
Gary, you didn't listen to Robert's statement. He talked about permanent. Robert, can you repeat that, please? Permanent, the permanent
Hey,
when you talk about.
I was quoting.
Well, go ahead. And some don't seem to realize that the party that form and shape the country, their people are still in place, no matter which government comes in, and they're putting heads.
That's what I meant. That's what I mean. These people are permanent. The
Permanent
UNC,
secretary.
the UNC government came into a toxic public service. Toxic.
In 1995, right?
In 1995.
Yeah,
Nobody wanted them in. And they worked actively against the wishes of the public service. They did everything they could so that they could be tripped up and so on. It was very difficult going. I was and remain very close friends with a number of people from way back when. I know some of the headaches and stories they faced.
Robert,
yes.
So that, go ahead, Anna.
I have a question. Do you know if any of the homes are receiving assistance from any international bodies, UN, UNICEF, Red Cross, any?
I've been removed for far too long.
But at the time,
no. They received only subvention from the Ministry of Social Development. There was a process. You had to submit a number of documents that would show why you qualify, and there were even levels as to how much subvention you could qualify for based on the number of children you have, the number of bedrooms, this, that, and the other. Which is why
any business houses then that we were giving support to these homes?
Not directly that I'm aware of. There were a number of NGOs, religious groups and charity groups that would adopt, for lack of a better term, adopt some of these homes. And they would.
Why can't they themselves, within the Constitution, demand that something be done to, in a conglomerate way, to fix the issue with the homes and the children? If I'm a business owner and I'm pumping funds into a home, and then I get to find out that it ain't going good for the children, then I want to know why my monies is not making life better for them. I don't want to stop the funding. I want to fix it. So how can a business house force the police, the commissioner, or whomever,
the police you can't look. I'll speak now as a professional that worked for decades in this field.
Okay.
Going the route of using the police as your panacea is a mistake, because that's how most of these kids end up in these homes to begin with. Is through the whole criminal judicial system. But that's not what's required. You need social welfare. You need properly trained social workers and so on. Those are the ones who should be administering this, not the police. You can't keep calling police in. I suspect this is why, in part, Manaha did what he did, because he realized from personal experience, relying on the police to solve this was not going to go anywhere.
No, but a crime is being committed, so I have to report it to the police, and that initiates, and then everything starts rolling from there. That's how I'm thinking.
And Hilton Guy had a copy of our
Okay, Hilton Guy, we gotta get he on the show. He's still alive, Ansel?
I don't know.
Give me a number. I'm gonna make a. You have his number, Mr. Sabga? I keep calling him.
I never met the man. He's not in my circle. I know nothing.
Anybody knows Hilton Guy's number? Let me give him a nice call.
So, Robert, just here's a comment, right? A comment from Takesha. She says she does cry because children have to suffer because of the system that failed them.
Yeah. She's not alone. I was driven to the point of tears by a lot of the things I saw. Listen, don't think that we just went in arbitrarily. We saw a bunch of stuff. We wrote it down, and then we went our merry way. Yeah? None of us on that task force left when we handed in that report. None of us was ever the same again. You can't see what we saw, listen to the things we heard, and still remain the same person. We saw a darkness that I cannot describe. It poisons your soul. You begin to understand just how vile there are some aspects of humanity, just how vile they can be. And we desperately wanted things to be better for the children that we ran across, that trusted us with their stories. We did everything we could. Honest to God, we did.
You know, Robert, and you know what's sad, boy? I really don't like when politicians try to take people for fools. I don't like that. And this report been on for 25 years, right? And the names of them are there for you. If you are currently in the government, you don't have to ask nobody for the report, right? You rather come publicly and say to them, "Oh, give me a copy of the report." You know, you could just go and get it.
But and you know, this is why, you know. Sorry, just give me a second to compose myself here, because I get infuriated about this. You know, anybody who says, "Oh, you kept quiet for 25 years and suddenly you want to talk up," no, nobody ever asked me. But now that I'm talking, I want to make damn sure the history remains intact. I don't want all of this nonsense being that's being floated by individuals in the government and so on about how I. You didn't ask me about this one, Alsam. You said you would, but how I suppressed the report and how the report was sanitized and
I was
all
supposed
of
to
that
ask you
is
that one.
rubbish.
Yeah.
I want that nonsense stopped. It's not true. It's a blatant lie. Stop spinning lies. All those lies are intended to do is to make this government look good and blameless and pristine when it's not true. And I have a duty of care, not just for the people who trusted us with their stories and their disclosures. I have a duty of care to the fine people, and they were very fine people who worked with me on that task force. When we did it thanklessly.
So, Robert, are those people still alive? Mrs. Hallecon York Young, Mrs. Badai Gideon Catchpole, Mrs. Valerie Rollins, Miss Sita Bahari, and Mr. Vasant Ramkisoon. Do you know if those people are still alive?
I've been out of Trinidad for too long. I couldn't say. The only one I know for sure is Diana, because last time I saw Diana, we actually were on the same flight together. And it was nice to catch up.
Right.
But
Well,
the others,
as you say,
I don't know.
As you say, Robert, I don't think any one of them were permanent secretaries. So, and you know, people saying, Robert, that we shouldn't laugh when we're doing this. I mean, you know, sometimes when you see things happening, things as devious as these things, and it just goes unfettered, and it just continues, and it's like, you know, it's like another day in the life of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, there's so purpose called as the world turns, is as Trinidad and Tobago turns. You know, and we just continue along the merry way. They come and they go, and things stay the same, and nothing really improves. Nothing improves.
Right.
And that is sad. That is sad, and I can see.
Like Nafisa Mohammed, famous child advocate, since 2015, she says further improvements were made, but there, I lost the thing it came down. But there are some systemic failures that are being overlooked, and there is still no oversight. Nafisa Mohammed.
And that's the key. No oversight. Once you cut bush for Guti to run, they will run.
And Robert, this let me say this is the last one for me. And people are thinking now, all of a sudden, that we want to denigrate, or people saying that they want to denigrate Mrs. Anna Webster Roy, who is in the Prime Minister office, and people are looking to put her under the bus and all kind of thing. My thing is this, right? In that this has opened up a kind of worms in Trinidad and Tobago that's been festering and growing, and the worms have multiplied, right? Because back then we had, let's say we had 15 children homes, as an example. I'm just making it up, 15. Now we double, we have 30 children's homes. So the worms have multiplied.
Goes back to my question. Where did all those extra children come from? If the system was working so well, why are there so many more children? Anyway, I just want to deal with this whole sanitization myth.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right? Because, it's weird. You use a word and somebody hears something totally differently. Let me tell you what happened. And let's put this on the record once and for all. Because the next person that accuses us of sanitizing our report, I will throw a shoe at. Because it's nonsense.
Okay. All
Look,
right.
you've read the report now. You see all of the appendices. You saw all of the tools we created for when we went in to do our reports. You've seen those, Ansem, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I read the whole thing.
All right. You also read that in some cases, because of conflicting schedules, not all members of the task force could go to any one single house at the same time. You read that as well?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
At the end of all of this, when it was time for us to say, okay, we've investigated enough, we can write a report, I was the chairman. Every single task force member handed me in all of their forms, their notes, their observations, and it fell on me now because I wrote that report. Nobody else. I wrote it. It fell on me to compile all of this information that I had been given. I compiled it. I included everything, even the little notes and little comments on the side of because some people either ran out of the room or just wanted to highlight that, with this particular point, this is what I meant, and so on. I compiled it all. This was the first draft. I then sent it to every member of the task force and said, are you okay with this? And they came back with, no, you should edit this out or leave that out, or I'm not comfortable with this, or whatever. And there were a variety of reasons why. But at the end of it, once I took all of the edits and their comments and I made the changes that they requested, that was the final draft of the thing. It was properly done up. Everybody signed, well, except for two of them one was on leave and one was out of the country, so they couldn't sign, but we got verbal approval. All right? We got verbal approval that, yes, they're okay with this draft. And on that basis, everything was bound. And then we did the handover, as I told you, all under cover of darkness and all of this. But anyway, that's how that came about. But there's a vast difference between editing an initial draft and ending up with a final draft, as opposed to sanitizing. Sanitizing means there's stuff in there that you were told, no, that has to come out. Sanitization is the wrong word. And I want that stricken because it gives the impression that there was a determined attempt to squelch certain aspects of what we wrote. We had to be very careful. You have to remember that. We had to be very careful. Things we could not substantiate, things we could not stand before a judge and swear to, we decided was anecdotal and would be left out.
Now, Robert, when the report was handed over, did the report come back to you guys for any edits?
No, that was the final draft. We handed it in. Why would they send it back to us for us to edit? That's this whole other mythology now that the government said to us, oh no, you have to sanitize this and that, and then all this crap about the task force members were instructed to destroy their copies of rubbish. None of that happened. I don't know where this mythology came from. It's lies. I'm saying it openly.
That's Ansem PNM party.
My PNM party.
You know,
Robert, one other thing. Robert, I think I want you to just talk quickly about how you guys selected the homes you were going to go to and when you guys did that, for just sake of sort of transparency.
I told you that already. We went through a process of elimination. We had
No.
a list of homes.
How
We
you
had
gonna
a
go-
list. We had a
How you going to
list.
go to the houses on each day? On each day, how you
Oh,
pick? Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
initially,
Mm.
the high public official demanded that we let her know where we were going. And lo and behold, when we arrived there, they expected us. They knew we were coming. Everything was either unavailable, hidden, or children were hidden, and all kinds of. And we said, well, wait, hang on. This can't work. So then we stopped letting her know where we were going. And yet, still mysteriously, she somehow figured out where we were going. So we said, you know what? We have to stop this. And what we started to do, believe it or not, we had all the names in a box. We would assemble either at Diana's office or someplace else again. We pull out the box, reach in, spin around, just like you pull in lottery, and we pull a name out. And whatever that name was, that's where we went. That's the only way we could preserve and prevent anybody being warned that we were coming. And that's how we finally were able to get access to the things that we saw and that we documented.
So you see, that was basically a roadmap for other things happening in the country as well. Instead of, you're doing it ahead of time and then people getting information ahead of time. You guys did it right there and then in the morning. You do a raffle then. You do a draw.
That's
you
it.
pick it out with
It's
the
the
box.
only. It's the only way to prevent anybody from knowing when we were going, because we would decide the night before. Okay, everybody, let's meet at 9 o'clock at so and so, and then on the spot there, we would decide where we were going.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Very interesting.
Very cloak and dagger. But the forces that were raised against us to try to prevent us from investigating to begin with, and then when we refused to back down, to try to stymie and protect and defend.
So Miss M. Thompson is asking if the report is online. What I'm going to do, folks, is that I'm going to post the report on my Facebook page and on the WZYE. Go to WZYE FM Facebook page, and you're going to get the report on there. And I want you to read through it is unbelievable. And if anybody was trying to hide anything, I can say to you, this report didn't hide much. I can say to you from reading that report, this report didn't hide much. I don't care whether Robert is a ILP, a PDP, a UNC, a PNM, a COP, a MSJ, whatever. Right?
There are members of my family.
Yeah.
When you ask them which party they support, they will tell you they support the PIP, the party in power.
I like that one. I think I gotta use that. I'm a pip.
Yeah,
I'm not pepping. I'm a pip. I'm supporting the party in power. So Robert, we getting ready to wrap up here, Robert.
Thank God, because you told me 1 hour. We're now past 2 and change. But go on.
But Robert, you're so good. You're so fantabulously, splendiferously tremendous.
Please, I beg you, somebody reach over and slap him. Please, make it stop.
Well, Robert, and we're going to wrap up now. Unless Diana, I don't know, Diana and Gary, if you have anything else for Robert. Robert, we really want to thank you so much, man, for being so patient with us. You know, we are a radio station here in New Jersey, and what we do, Robert, is we are about country. We are believing in, well, I can speak for myself. Let me speak for myself. I believe in country before party, right? And we embarked on a journey here at WZYE 95.9 FM where we stood up for exile and stranded citizens. And myself as a PNM supporter, you know, they imposed the 4 Ds on me, Robert. They demonized me, they tried to destroy me, and they dismissed me. Dismissed, destroyed, demonized, right? And these are the things that they try to do to me because I stood up for country as opposed to standing up for party. So I understand sometimes, you know, the difficulties that are faced, you know, when you stand up, you know, against your party, you know, that you could be, you know, demonized and destroyed and dismissed, you know. So go ahead,
Well,
Diana.
Oh, I just wanted to say to Robert, you know, with my what happened to me in my home, I easily could have ended up in one of these homes. You know, I was being, you know, not treated well in my primary residence, so I easily could have been one of those children in the homes. You know, because I wasn't wanted. That's the mere fact. Not that I was a ill-behaved, ill-mannered child. I just wasn't wanted. You know, and I feel so, you know, badly that, you know, there's nothing I'm not on the ground there. Nothing I can do to stir up something, you know, to, you know, try to make it right for children, because in a child's position, and people who are supposed to be caring for you are mistreating you, and then they put you somewhere, you're getting mistreated worse. Yeah, you know, there are many, you know, you could be suicidal, you want to go to criminal activity, and, you know, so I just hope that something good comes out of all this hullabaloo that's going on around this report, and giving it new energy, and something really is done to, you know, have this behavior cease, desisted, revamp the system, hold people culpable. That's all I have to say, Rob.
You know, and it's funny, right? So here is a comment from someone, right, Robert? James Edwards says, "People life will destroy forever, and all you're having a laugh." Can you imagine that? You know, you've been here for 2.5 hours, right? That person might have just come in for the last 5 minutes, and all they could come and say is that we are having a laugh after all the multitude of issues we have put on the table today. And that is part of the problem we have in Trinidad and Tobago, right? It's like what I do about in my class. I teach global business, organizational behavior, and principles of business management, right? When I go into my class, I put up the 9 times table. And on the last one, I put 9 times 10 is 91. And you know what most people see? The 9 times 10 is 91. I have 90% correct. But all they see is the 9 times 10 is 91. So James Edwards just come in, and all James Edwards heard is that he believes that we are laughing and because of what happened. And that is part of the problem we have in Trinidad and Tobago. So Gary, any other thing before you go, as we let Robert leave and go his way?
I think we kept him long enough, but Mr. Sabga, we definitely appreciate you taking the time, and we want to bring you back here to have some more discussion, some other things. So I certainly want to.
Well, thank you, Gary, and thank you all of you for those kind words. I mean, I'm laughing, Gary, because you're sounding like Pandey. I've become a victim of my own success again.
Well, you know, I became friendly with Mr. Pandey a little while ago, and you know, I did my best to help him in the 2007 elections as a foreign person, you know, raising the party support out here in the New York City area. We did the best we can, and we tried, you know, and it didn't work. We couldn't unite the team. We tried everything negotiating, and we saw what happened. Then in 2010, I gave Mrs. Wisesa the best rally possible in New York City. And just like how you were treated with Mr. Manny, and I was treated the same way. You know, but anyway, you know, I kept up the fight. But you know, I value you as an important resource for our country, and I want to continue some discussions with you in reshaping the wheel in our country. I think we can do it if we bring some our people internationally on board and unite as one force of a people. Where you're in this platform here, you're free to say what you can't say in Trinidad and Tobago. You know what is being stifled and muzzled by the media here. We will talk about it here. So we want to get that understanding very clear out there that we are offering our people an opportunity. This fight is about them. If we find we are not taking any party side, who is wrong and who is right is right. We want the best for our country, and I certainly agree with you that this government, this administration, is not the best for our country. And there's a lot of things to share with you. So I know you spent a lot of time with us today, and we will get together again definitely. Either privately or on the platform here.
Well, again, thank you for those sentiments. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anselm.
So Robert, if you had to send a message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, what would your message to the Prime Minister?
Stop. Just stop. Enough. No more smoke and mirrors. Stop. That's all I could say. There's nothing here that is a mystery. Everybody can see how broken the picture is. Everybody knows how to fix it. Stop the spin. Stop the lies. Stop the misinformation. Stop. I need to leave you, but I want to leave on a note here, if I can, Anselm.
Sure. Go ahead.
I sat for 5 years in the seat of High Commissioner in Ottawa. Few people understand what that really means in terms of responsibility. They think, oh, you get a posting and it's a big work and all of this, which is not true. You sit as the face and the voice and the hand of an entire government. With a stroke of a pen, I could commit the country to any agreement. I could also declare war. It's an enormous responsibility. And I served my government, I served my country, because I was High Commissioner to all, not just to members of the UNC diaspora. I was representative of the government to every single person, at least in Canada, from coast to coast to coast, regardless of political affiliation. As long as you had your roots in Trinidad, I was your representative. I was your gateway through to the country and vice versa. And it's a role I held in high esteem. I carried out my duties with honor. It was a privilege to serve. Now I will add a D word on the 3 Ds that you've put up in the course of our discussion, Anselm. You asked me now, 20 years after I demitted office, how do I feel? My 4th D is desolate, because I've become a stranger in my own house. And there are no words to explain what that feels like. I served with what I like to think is distinction. I served with all my heart. I gave the best that I had available. And now for me to be denigrated and made the butt of jokes and odium and vitriol is the worst kind of betrayment. So yeah, my 4th word for you is desolate. It has to stop.
We want to give you that opportunity to strike back here, Mr. Sabga. We want the truth to come forward. And we will counterattack any untruth on this platform. So You got some friends in this corner here in the US.
Robert, I want to say to you, Robert, and I'm saying this publicly. Robert, we just met 1 day ago and we talked for like 35 minutes. And it seemed like if we have known each other for a long time. And I really appreciate you taking the time here because you could have said, and some, I don't know you guys. I don't know you guys from Adam. I don't want to come. I've been talking about this thing now for too much, later, but you took the time to come. And we do appreciate you taking the time to give us here on this little station here, WZYE 95.9 FM. So we thank you so very kindly from the bottom of our hearts, from all of us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Robert.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you have it,
So
Angela.
folks, there you have it. I mean, it was a long one. I mean, he only promised me 45 minutes, but somehow when you come in the village, 45 minutes, 45 minutes.
He didn't take up his marbles and run.
Yeah, he didn't pick up his marbles and run like Gary friend. Gary friend pick up she marbles and run. But I think we got a lot on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And we really have to try and come together, man. We have to try and come together and try to inspire us for a different tomorrow, or for a better tomorrow, because all we seem to be trying to do is the PNM UNC fight, the PNM UNC fight, the PNM UNC fight. And at the end of the day, this was 25 years ago, and the thing is even worse now. It's worse. We could blame the UNC, we could blame the PNM. What difference does that make for a child who's sitting in that children's home today? What difference does that make? How does that improve their lives? How does it make it better for them when they go to sleep tonight, that tomorrow they're going to wake up and they're going to see some betterment for themselves? How does that help? How does all that things that we going through help that? It doesn't. The system needs to change. Right? The system, and we always put up a post here, right? The system was built that way, it's built that way. All kind of kickbacks we have in, people eating our food and making money left, right, and center. Why do they want to stop that system? No, they don't want to stop that. It's a gravy train. It's a little gravy train, a silent gravy train. Look, one of these places, $5.3 million, and people starving in that school. They can't get, they don't have enough food. And when they have the food sitting down in a cupboard, sitting down there, who they getting the food to?
You're giving the children scraps.
Scrap. You're getting them sugar water and all kind of thing.
And chicken foot.
All they will put the report. I'll put the report on my page as well as on WZYE 95.9 FM page for you all to go and read for yourself. Yeah, no, it's in the chat with us. It's in the chat to us.
I just wanted a copy that I would take my time.
All right. And folks, if you wanted email to you, just send me, go to the WhatsApp line and send me your email address and I will email it to you. We will email it to you. Send me an email at wallstreettrini@gmail.com, wallstreettrini@gmail.com, and I will email it to you. Because I want you guys to read the report and see the things that this report spelled out. And today we arguing about if he sanitized the report or if he's a UNC or if he, really? 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 That's the discussion?
Yeah. Anyway, this was a very lovely one today, so we have to bring him back. The villagers, on a lighter note, because sometimes when you think about that, your head wanna hurt. You wanna go do something to somebody, for treating children the way, right? The villagers they've been asking to see Stormy, so I'm gonna exit the screen and go and bring him for yours for Ansem ends the broadcast.
Let
me go bring the little bandit now.
Yeah. So
we got some real food for thought here tonight. This afternoon.
So folks, as we says, anybody that want the report, all right, send me an email at WZYE FM, that's my other thing, at wallstreettrini@gmail.com, right? and I will send the report to you guys. Of course, folks. Takisha, I hear you. We are trying to bring Verna St. Rose. If anybody has information for Verna St. Rose as well, please send it to me. And we want to say, Master Brave Boy, you got special shout out, girl. When I grow up, I want to be good like you, Master Brave Boy. when I
Okay,
get
look.
yeah. All you see the poor dog. Look. I'm sorry for him.
Huh?
You have that? You have a chain around your neck? Is that chain you have around your
No,
neck?
that's something to correct his behavior when he's doing bad.
Oh, okay. Wait, just pull it.
No, it beeps.
Oh, it beeps.
Mhm.
Because we don't want Stormy to end up in one of them in our house. We don't want Stormy to end up in our house. Stormy, where are you going, partner? Stormy,
He talking
where is
to you. Nadia, there's your puppy. They always
Stormy,
wanted
man?
to see you.
Yeah. So, folks, again, we want to thank all of you. Wait now, Cornelius Garcia says, if the Prime Minister didn't announce this thing, you all would have never been talking about it now. Really? Cornelius? What? Cornelius? All right, Cornelius. Whatever it is, partner. Welcome, though. Marcia says, thanks for being a great and edifying guest on WZYE 95.9 FM radio. Robert Sabga, I hope we can use the information you have shared to correct and fix that broken part of our nation of TNT. Yeah, let me say welcome to Adrian Jones. Adrian, welcome. Listra, want to say welcome to you as well. Listra says, ever notice how institutions that groom child abuse forbid birth control? Ghetto in TNT, PNM stronghold after freeness is literally PNM. All right, okay, well, like this. All right. This is serious thing happening here in Trinidad and people joking. I don't know who was joking, huh? I don't know who was joking. They said this is
I had to
serious thing.
sanitize my hand. I sanitize my hand and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we got
So
we getting big.
folks, I don't know. We want to go to that song tonight. I don't know. What song we go out with tonight? So
I
anybody in
sent
the
you one
chat?
by Kenny J. Leave girl alone.
All right. We go out to that one. So
It ties
folks,
into the subject,
yeah, I want to say, right, Marcia. Correct is right, Marcia. The Judah Jones report resurrected this conversation, not the Prime Minister. Correct is right. I mean, if them anyway, let me not go into that again. I mean,
everybody wants Stormy now. Come get him.
We got Manohar Ramsran for tomorrow night, 7:30.
Okay. Oh, I forget this was a special edition. I thought this was actually a program, that we had, But and folks, this is what we do here at WZYE 95.9 FM. If at any time you guys feel that there is people who have breaking stories in Trinidad and Tobago that the other media in Trinidad and Tobago don't want to put out, we put it out. All right? We do that. That's what we do here at WZYE 95.9 FM, especially in the village with the dark triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. So again, if anybody wants a copy of the report, right, you can hit me up on WhatsApp. The number is here. Let me put the number here quickly. The number is here. Where's the number? Let me go that. That number kind of small there, Okay, here it is. The number is 973-868-1444. 973-868-1444. Send your email address. And folks, the only thing we ask people, we not people who just tell them about Share the Live and Share the Live. That's not us. The only thing we ask you is to subscribe to WZYE TV on YouTube. That's it. Just subscribe to WZYE TV on YouTube. So whenever we have breaking stories like this and breaking programs like this, you will get, an immediate, email or notification from YouTube that we are doing something immediately. All right. That's the only thing we ask of you, to subscribe to WZYE TV on YouTube, and, you go in there, you click the bell and, you say, you subscribe. So, that's basically it, folks. So, so let's go. Closing comments, Gary. All right. Gary's we're gonna get
Yeah,
back to Gary.
thank everyone for joining us, and especially Mr. Sabga for taking the time. It was really a healthy discussion, about some unhealthy things, but it's good that we could have the discussion so we expose what the issues and we could deal with it. So again, thank you everyone, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
So Marcia put closing comments in the chat. Marcia put closing comments in the chat. Adrian, if you're still there, you could put closing comments in the chat as well. I don't know if Takesha is still there. Takesha, if you're still there, put closing comments in the chat. Takesha. We have a new person, Cornelius. We involve people in the chat. Cornelius, if you're still there, put a closing comment in the chat as well. Cornelius Garcia, if you are still there, put a closing comment in the chat. Listra Ramuta Lochan, if you're still there, put a closing comment in the chat as well, Listra. And we thank you. Welcome to WZYE 95.9 FM in the village with the dark triplets. Last one. Hey, James Edwards, if you are still there, put a closing comment in the chat as well. And our regulars who want to put closing comments in the chat, Nadia, Lana, Takesha, you guys can put closing comments in the chat too as well. So let me go to Diana here. Okay. I don't know how I went solo in, huh? Yeah. Where Diana, closing comments?
I just want to say, thank to Ms. Brave Boy for helping us to facilitate this meeting, this interview with Mr. Sabga. I hope that we can continue dialogue with him as this dreadful story unfolds in Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, what is the quote by Frederick Douglass, Anselm? It's easier to
raise strong children than to repair broken men.
Thank you. So Trinidad and Tobago, and it is all that Mandela said, a country is known by best for how to take care of their elderly and their young ones. So if this is how you treating the Trinidad and Tobago, the children of Trinidad and Tobago, my heart shudders. I don't know what is going to become of them. But something has to be done. Not another committee and another committee and another committee. We need stuff done now. If people need to be fired and replaced, yes. We can't have your children feeling this way. No, that's my comment. Everybody be safe. So we meet again on Saturday.
Thank you so much, Diana. And I'm going to just go along with what Diana says by Frederick Douglass. It's easiest to raise strong children than to repair broken men. In addition to that, you don't have to see all the flights in the staircase. Sometimes you only have to see the first flight. Martin Luther King also said, your life ends the day you remain silent about things that matter. From where I said, this is it. The clock on the wall said, that's all I like to say, but I've got to go. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. And for every 60 seconds of anger, you lose 1 minute of happiness. Let me go to the chat and finish up with these closing comments here. Lana says, if the government can fix the problem, who does the government expect to fix it when they are the government with all the power? Takesha says, hold on. This is Lana's closing comment. Takesha says, I appreciate the effort every time Anselm, Diana, Gary, and Tommy make to highlight the people. God bless you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, my mental health would be in a mess. Thank you so much, Takesha. And we know we want to continue to help you, in order to, make sure that on a daily basis you can see the positive side. Master Brave Voice says, great discussion, everyone. Let us really fix this moral decay that is leaving our children and society broken. I totally agree. Nadia says, bye, everyone. Please stay safe till we meet again. Thank you, Nadia. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that what we're gonna do, Master. We're gonna do a rebroadcast tonight. I think that's what we're gonna do. That'll be a good thing. I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do a rebroadcast later.
Keisha also saying to those in power, please stop failing the kids. Just stop it, and thanks to Mr. Sabga.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and stop making everything to be a political football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything is political football. All right, so we're gonna go to this song here by
Kenny J.
By Kenny J. You know.
That's the guy that perished the other day, right?
Yes, that's it. Kenny J.
Children, when they're growing up, they need guidance. And this is what they should really get from their parents. But some parents are naturally good misleaders. Boys are some fathers messing with your daughters, causing plenty horrors and the family disorders. They had to be out their mind, or maybe tripping up at some time. No normal man could commit this crime. A girl child at a very tender age should be involved with sports and culture, and not with this violent treatment from his father. So leave your daughter alone. Don't interfere with his mind. I said to leave your daughter in peace, sister. Let she break loose on she own time. She has she own life to live, Lord, and that is true. So why must it be all messed up because of you? You could come here, take her for a walk, buy her an ice cream cone. But anytime that you're feeling sexy, leave she alone. A young girl went and complained to she mother that she was sexually abused by she father. She mother tell she he's the only supporter. Like you want me to suffer, things not getting better. Lord help these children, save them from these madmen. So don't be advantageous. This not because you see for your daughter has to go through this war. And you put she mother in a monkey pan. To your music she has to dance, because they depend upon you for finance. So leave your daughter alone, unless she make up she mind. I said to leave your daughter in peace, sister. Let she break loose on she own time. She have she own life to live, Lord, and that is true. So why must it be all messed up because of you? Make her laugh and cry, teach her not to lie. Kiss goodbye when leaving home. But when you feel it, whooshy, leave me alone. I say, whoa. A daughter should feel secure with his father and depend on him to guide and protect her. But when he turn and he sexually abuse her, he damage her future, pain and guilt forever. She feels like a failure, gets sexual displeasure. She might end up making child, but at last it's son of a brute. Enough to turn she a prostitute, or get addicted to drug or alcohol. From the whole world she wants to hide. She might finally commit suicide. I tell you to leave your daughter alone. Don't mesmerize up she might. I said to leave your daughter in peace with her. Let she break loose on she own time. She has she own life to live, Lord, and that is true. So I must say be all messed up because of you. But when you drink up your liquor and you're feeling tight and your sexual urge start to roam, don't ever bother to think about your daughter. Leave she alone. A girl child is so tender, precious and special. She needs that tender love and care which is vital. Protect her so she grows with pride and dignity. Let her know from early the value of her body. How man does be marking when she's developing. Well, if it's young blood you want, check out them animals that just run. Not your boy innocent infant. So many women out there don't have a man. Check out one to ease your tension, or talk to Miss Farmer to help the situation. And leave your daughter alone unless she make up her mind. I said to leave your daughter in peace with her. Let she break loose on she own time. She has she own life to live, Lord, and that is true. So tell me why must it be all messed up because of you? Your mind that fall from small, can't eat it at all. Your stomach it want to turn, but you're standing firm for your thing, your own daughter. Leave she alone. Thank you.
Contestant number 2, Kenny J with Leave You Alone, a very beautiful rendition. And in case you're wondering,